Hi, it's Malcolm from Aquaspray. Today I'm going to show you how to change the oil correctly. There are so many people who don't even check it or change it in the regular intervals as it says in the manuals. When you buy a new Kranzle, you will get an operating manual. It's in all different languages, and on one of the pages it will show you where to change the oil, when to change the oil, and how much oil is needed. So regardless of the size of the machine, they're all pretty much the same. You have a filling cap. This one on the 160 TST has a dipstick on it, which you can be able to check to where the min and max is. And then obviously you've got on the bottom end is where you would drain the oil with this nut here. The same goes for the 1152. You should be able to turn this by hand, but it does have a screwdriver slot. If you've got a big screwdriver slot, if it becomes tight. And once again, the same nut underneath for draining the oil. The only time it changes is when you get the smaller machine. As you can see underneath, there's no sump plug. So you may have to take this off, again with either a spanner or a screwdriver slot, and turn the machine upside down to drain the oil. The old machines don't have a sump nut, but there is a filling cap which you could tilt it, or you can even use the sight glass to pour it out the side. So without further ado, we're going to change the oil on this Kranzle 7122. We have a filling plug, the drain plug, and the sight glass to see where your oil is. So we just need to have something now to drain the oil into. So this is my rig, an upside down pallet, a cut off 25 litre drum just to catch the oil in. The first thing you need to do is take the oil filling cap off. Sometimes you will hear a hiss where there's pressure built up in this chamber. Once you've got that cap off, you're going to be making sure that there's no moisture in there or coloured oil that you might need to clean more thoroughly in there. This is just a basic oil change. So if the oil is emulsified or it's white or milky, then you might need to strip more bits down. This is just routine maintenance before it gets to that stage. The next time is to get the 13mm spanner and undo the sump plug at the bottom. If this is really tight, you can add a spanner for leverage, or you can use a ratchet. Hopefully it's not too tight, this one. So now, just unscrew this. Some people get confused and try and tighten it because it's upside down. It's anti-undo, righty-tighty and all that. Just unscrew it. And drain the oil out. This is where you check the bottom of the sump plug to see if there's any shavings or iron filings in there. Most of the new ones will have a magnet in there so that any wear and tear of the bearings will fall into here, and then you'll be able to see them if there's any sort of wear. So while that oil's draining, you can now remove the sight glass and give that a clean. You have to be careful with this one because these are just plastic and they can easily break if you try and force anything with them. Once the oil sight glass is off, make sure you give it a clean, make sure you can see all the way through it and it's perfectly clean. Once it is there, we can literally just replace that. Again, if you find milky oil, you might need to go a little bit further and do a little bit more stripping down. And once again, when you put the plastic coupling in, plastic sight glass, you need to just be careful not to cross thread it or try and force it because it will break. Again, not too tight when you're tightening this up. Once that's done, The oil's pretty much drained out now. We can start to just lift this up. Screw the sump plug back in and then tighten it up again. Again, you don't need to be going over tight with these because it's just on the O-ring. You just got to make sure that it is not going to fall out with vibration. So it needs to be just tight enough for that. Make sure you clean all the oil. If there's any oil on the pump or anything that can drip out onto a surface once you've finished. And then all you're doing is literally just pouring oil in. Now the idea is to pour it slowly so that it goes through the expansion chamber through a square hole that you'll have probably seen on a few of my videos and fill up from the bottom. The slower you do it, the better it'll be, because if you try and fill it too quick, you'll probably miss, or it'll overfill it, and also it'll can trap air bubbles around the wobble plate. And if it traps air bubbles around the wobble plate, you think you've got a good level, you'll start running the machine, the air will rise to the top and the oil level will drop. So just take it nice and easy and nice and slow. And what you want to be doing is just checking the oil sight glass for when it gets to the glass. If you use the sight glass as almost like a dipstick, half of that glass is the minimum you want to be having oil in. And at the top of the sight glass, or where there's no bubble, is the maximum. If you try and overfill it, you will cause pressure into there, and that can remove an oil seal. So now I have a tiny little bubble in there, which is just about perfect. You can just check it by rocking it backwards and forwards, seeing where the oil level is. And then all you have to do is put the filling cap on. Remember not to over tighten it or cross thread it, and use a ring spanner so you don't damage it. And that is your oil change done. And the oil's stopped dripping. You can just lift this back, replace the oil sump plug, and then we are going to tighten it up.
Oh no.
Bastard.
That was tragic.
No, it was tragic. So I'm going to just take that sump plug off again.
Is this going in the video?
It's going in the bloopers.
Malcolm fails.
The fail, man. Ugh.